All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Living the Dream podcast. Today on the show, we have Michelle Sehkhinah, who is currently in the progress of writing From the Floor to the Door. Michelle, how you doing?
I'm wonderful. Thank you. Good to be with you, Timmy.
Of course.
Hmm.
Happy to have you. And we like to
Thank
jump
you.
right in, as you know. So if you could start with just telling us a little bit more about yourself, what you like to do for fun, that'd be great.
Okay. So, about myself, I am a mom, first and foremost, previously married for many, many years until I escaped that. It being the last 5 years, it ended up being an abusive relationship and situation of which I escaped and went from the floor to the door, essentially. Um, And I think what I do for fun is, wow, I'm pretty much a hermit now, meaning that I did live a very fun life, so to speak, but I enjoy like the quiet moments now and hanging out with my kids and my dogs and my family. So,
Okay,
yeah.
I gotcha.
Mhm.
Back in the day when you said you lived a
Mm.
wild life, what was it?
Well, it wasn't really wild, well, I guess it was, but it wasn't necessarily my choice. So I was married to someone who loved going out and still does apparently. And um, what I didn't know at the time was that he was an addict. And there ended up being drugs and alcohol and a massive amount of all of that. And where we live, it's a very festive area, so to speak. And there were lots of places to go to and clubs and bars and all of that. And he kind of brought me into that world. And it got worse, throughout the years. The last 5 years of my over 20-year marriage got really bad. So,
I gotcha. I gotcha.
mhm.
And so have you always really liked the quiet moments and that part of you had just gotten drowned out?
Well, I think I grew up like that. I mean, I grew up in a very large family, so there really wasn't a quiet moment. We are all very close, and we still are. So it was always surrounded by family and vacations and things like that, school and religious organizations and things. And so I went into my career early on, I'm a healthcare worker, and so when I got married, which I was in my 20s, like I said, I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know that this was a person who really quote unquote partied in college and had all of that. So I had my fun too, but it wasn't looking in a certain way. It wasn't like as drastic as his was. And having children early on, and I have two special needs children. I was full on mom, and I was working in the school. I was PTA president, a room mom. I was working in my religious organizations and things like that. So I was very much involved with that and supporting him with his businesses. I had a couple of my own, and I did that. But then again, the last few years, he started to sprout this part of him that I did not know was lying dormant within himself. And he, like I said, got into the drugs and all of that, and took his tension away from me and the family, and was putting it in other areas. And I realized, as a woman back then, I kind of gave my power away. And I said, whatever it takes to keep my marriage, I'll do. And I made that mistake of kind of saying that to him and saying, I want to live out my life and I want it to be great with you. And what do I have to do? Well, I say that he took my hand and guided me down a dark path that I didn't even know existed. And that went on for 5 years. And I can keep going with that if you want me to.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. Take
Okay.
us through as much as a story.
So it started off very small, and the story is such that it was just the two of us, and then he, emotionally, mentally, started to physically abuse me, but not in the ways of hitting and the typical domestic violence kind of thing you would see. It was more in our bedroom, and it was privately. It was sexually, choking to the point of me passing out. It was all that kind of stuff. And there is a space for that that's healthy, I guess, for people, but this was definitely not. And then he got into the next level of it, I guess. And it was, here's my wife, you could do what you want with her. So essentially, it was 5 years of trafficking me. And I went through that part. And ironically, I was still doing all of the other stuff as far as being a mom and all of that. But there was also this happening as well. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
hmm It's a lot. It's a lot to take on. It's a lot to talk about. But I've been out for almost 5 years and been working really hard with a lot of people. And there's a lot of great support for people, especially women out there in the real world, so to speak. Because, like I said, this is a really dark spot, a dark space I was living in. But I had two sides of the coin. I had the mom, the school mom, the parent, that part of it, and then I had this part, and they did not mix. So it was almost like a double life that I had to live.
So how did you manage to mm,
Mhm.
function, I guess?
That was a little bit of a challenge because there were some times where I wouldn't sleep but a couple of hours, but I had no choice. I was already the main caregiver of my children before all of this happened. It's just who I am, I guess. Also, I would take care of my own kids and other people's kids. And, I love that. And I still kind of do that. And I just figured out how to balance it. And I separated the two in my head and I separated the two almost physically in the home because he would be in the room in the door shut and what have you. And I would be, on the other part, like cooking food and taking care of the kids and doing laundry and all of that. And, the hardest part was I was very sleep deprived. Sometimes I got just a few hours in a whole weekend. And that was a challenge because with going out late at night, coming home and he'd want to still be doing his drugs and all of that, where I'd be wanting to go to sleep. And so I would fall asleep and wake up 2 hours later, and he would sleep until the next afternoon, get up and want to go out again. And so that was really difficult. But part of it's like the mom muscle. We somehow develop it where we have a newborn.
Yeah.
And so that really helped me in that regard. So that's how I balanced it in my head and I was able to make the distinction between the 2.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Mhm,
I gotcha. Well,
mhm.
tell us a bit more about your motivation. What really gets you up, keeps you going every day? Why write this book?
So, what keeps me going? What keeps me going is the fact that I survived, and I survived for a reason. If I had stayed one more week, I would not be here. I have come to terms with that. And everyone saw it around me towards the end. I had lost a lot of weight in a very short period of time without trying, and I didn't realize it. But it was bad. I would be out and have a couple sips of a cocktail or what have you, and I'd wake up the next day. I wake up and I wouldn't know where I was or how I got there. And it was really scary. So what motivates me is gratitude. It's gratitude of thank you for saving me. I know I was protected during that time, and what gets me up is the fact that number one, my children, and I have to show them that even though going through all of this, I'm still standing. I'm still standing and I'm thriving. I went back into working as a healthcare worker, healing other people, and that really, really helped me. But my goal now is to help anyone who's been through trauma, whether it be very small or the extreme, which was mine. We all have the same kind of basis of soul pain, so to speak,
Yep.
and that's what drives me is to help people heal that, so that they can heal other people. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. I love that.
hmm
Can you tell us a little bit about Shekinah? You mentioned before the
hmm
show
hmm
that that's a character in the Bible that really
Correct.
inspired you. Can you tell us a
Right.
little bit about that story, how you came about it, why it
Mhm.
inspires you?
Well, unfortunately, because of my situation, I still have to use an alias and not show my face because I'm not necessarily in a safe zone yet. So actually, somebody had given me the name Shekinah, and we discovered it. It's in the Bible. She is a warrior and almost like a fighter and a queen, and she's really strong, and that's pretty much where I've been and what I've gone through, and even after I left. It's been 10 years since everything started, and I still have to deal with, my ex-husband. I still have to deal with some of the people that we were around, but mostly him. And it's trickled into more of the emotional and financial abuse because I haven't seen him. I don't talk to him. I haven't gone near him, or I keep that distance. And but I still have to be a fighter. I have moments, of course, like we all do, because I am human. Um, but then you said, like, what motivates you? It's my kids, because they need me to be solid. They always have, but more so now because they're older, and I'm launching them out into their own lives, and I have to be really strong because he's actually getting worse.
Yeah.
So yeah, so Shakina is a fighter. And it's I don't want to fight people. I'm actually quite the opposite. I just want to love people, but my spirit has to be that fighting, um, kind of process to keep
Yeah.
going forward. Hmm.
I gotcha. And I know you mentioned you want to help anyone who has been through trauma.
Hmm.
Do you have
I
any
know.
other dreams or goals that you want to add to that?
I do actually, and this came to me about a month ago because I work with women now, and I have been since, well, my whole life essentially. But I've worked with women that have had to leave their houses quickly, gone to the hospital, spoken to the police. Everyone sees somebody who's in an anxiety or panic ridden mode, and they think that they might be crazy. And anyone who's had somebody lie to them or gaslight them or what have you, they feel like they're going crazy. And, what they think is real might not be real, and vice versa. So, when speaking with somebody of authority, they need an advocate. So, I've been doing some of that and being that voice for that person. And then just helping them find the resources. My big dream is not only what I'm doing now, um, but I really want to, I'm going to, I should say, I want to and going to get a home with some land. And because I love to keep a home, I've always loved that, and to cook for people and get people together. And I thought, what, why don't I do that for women and children, teenagers, especially the LGBTQ community and animals, and make it like a place where someone can go to if they've nowhere else to go. I can have retreats there. I have friends that put on their own retreats, and we talked about doing that. So it would be almost like a respite care
I got you.
until we can get them placed. And because again, like a month ago, one of my friends had called me from the healing circle and said, so and so needs somewhere to go. Can you help? And I went right into action mode, and I called women distress, and I tried to get her a bed, and what do we do with her son, and what do we do with the dog, and all of that, because there's a lot that goes on with that. And it could be a teenager that, or even a young adult that is living with someone. And in the LGBTQ community, it's very, domestic violence is rampant, and I didn't realize how bad it was. And I have family members that are in the community and a lot of friends, and I hear the stories. And again, they need somewhere to go also, or someone to talk to. So I do a lot of that as well.
I got you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
Calling the National Domestic Violence Hotline.
Oh, oh God. Let's not make sure we don't do
yeah,
that.
yeah, all good, all good.
Thank you, Siri. Okay, let's cover. That's a little scary. That's a little scary. Let's cover her up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yikes. Okay. Wow. That's kind of cool to know, I guess, right? I never
It
had
is
that one. Yeah,
also a little scary
absolutely.
because they're always
It's a little
listening.
scary. I know that's a little scary. That's the first time that happened.
Yeah,
So anyway, so my big dream is to do that. I mean, I can picture it, I can see it, I can feel it, I can smell the food I'm gonna make, I can, picture the fire pit in the back with the chairs around it and people sitting and just sharing and feeling safe, having security there, because that's what I needed when I left. I left with nothing, and I had to go back, and I went back to the house and took care of my kids every day, and that was so scary. Um, but I knew that I had to leave to save myself. And what I want to do is have a place where people can go with their children. And It'd be a little bit nicer than a shelter that you see. And although those are fantastic, I just want to make it a little bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're envisioning a home with some land for women, teenagers, animals, and
Hmm.
people where people
Yeah.
can go when they have nowhere else to go. Is that right?
Correct. Absolutely. And definitely the animals. Because I think that, so many people have animals, and that's a lot of people stay because of their animals, their pets. Same thing like if there's, a hurricane or tornado, people won't leave because they can't shelter their animals. Well, I'm all about kids and animals. So I would say, like, let's bring them on, have people to help run that, area and expertise. And then what happens is usually the animals become part of the therapy, even if they're not therapy dogs,
Yeah.
or so to speak, that can be a part of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Hmm.
What was I gonna say? Oh, what was I gonna say? When you envision this home, how
Hmm.
much land is it on? How much does it cost to build the home? Like, give us the specifics of the vision.
Well, I'm hoping to, I mean, in my head, I'm hoping to land. I don't even know because I live in an area where I don't have land. What there are people that do. So I guess at least, a couple or a few acres. Um, at least two, let's say. I'd like to have the home already built where if I need to fix it up, I can. I picture it being yellow for some reason. I don't know why. Um, Definitely, a gate where people can't get in and out unless they're allowed in, and there's, permission, and there is security there, so everybody feels safe. And even maybe a house where, let's say one house is for women and there's another house for men, because let's not exclude the guys. You guys are fabulous too, and there are some, situations where the men are being abused.
Yeah.
Especially like I said, even the younger men, um, in same-sex couples and same-sex marriage, and it's dreadful. And again, with the teenagers, and it could even have like a third house for just teenagers. So I'm not sure with that. I'd have to play that out a little bit more and think about it, meditate on it, and all of that. But I can actually see it. I can definitely see it.
Yeah.
And so, that's a step, and it could happen. It could happen next year. It could happen in 10 years. I don't know. It could be something that I'm, supportive of. But I had gone on a retreat myself last month, and I had the vision one night, and then the next day I went somewhere, and in the ladies' restroom, there happened to be a sign on the wall, and it was a sign for a house just like that, where you could pick out, the tabs, the piece of paper on the bottom, like if you need somewhere to go, and it was exactly the same thing that I wanted to do in this area. And I was like, okay, well, there's a sign. I
Yeah.
mean, right. And then the next day I went back, and the gal that runs the place happened to be at this restaurant that we were at. And so I sat and I talked to her. I know it was very cool. Really,
Yeah.
it was very surreal, because this is a thought that I hadn't ever had except for that night. Like, it hit me exactly what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
That was wild.
I
So
love it. And this was what,
yeah,
last month?
this was last month. Yeah.
I need to get on a
Yeah.
podcast about dreams and goals where I try to make it happen.
Exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, listen, I just started doing podcasting for the most part because I've been helping people online and locally where I'm at. And then my friend is one of the top podcasters. And he's like, and I told him, I said, my goal is to reach thousands of people, because everyone's gone through trauma and everyone's gone through pain and everyone's hurt. I mean, I see a lot of patients in my career, and I don't just heal their body, I heal their emotions and their minds. And we talk about it, we cry together, and, we come up with solutions. And, this is all maybe within an hour of seeing these people. And it's important because we're all going through something,
Yeah.
especially after COVID. And, we could all help each other because we are all one and the same. Our stories are different, but the bottom of what we're built out of, what we're made from, we're all the same.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The core of who we are. So,
I gotcha. So if
mhm,
you had to make this home happen within a year,
mhm,
what would you need?
mm, money.
How
I mean,
much?
oof, I mean,
I guess a better
nothing.
question is, oh, did you have a number?
I would say nothing short of $2 million
I
because
got
it would have to be a large home.
you.
Again, even if it's not a lot of land, and it could be the first home, it could be a starter home. Just it would be have to be licensed, it would have to be supplied, all of that sort of thing. Staff, security, very big for me. Um, you
Yeah.
know, that sort of thing.
I guess so there are kind of two, like the $2 million makes sense in my head if it's in a
Hmm.
city like Austin, Texas. But then I
Hmm.
think of like Abilene, Texas, where you could
Hmm.
probably get 2 acres for 20 grand and build a house for 200
Oh my
grand.
gosh! Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good old Abilene.
that's that's pretty cool. That would be pretty cool.
So I guess I'm
Yeah.
curious, is it like you want to be near a major city so you can be a hub for a
Not
lot of people?
not. I mean, it could be like 30 minutes out of the city.
Okay.
I definitely want it to be somewhere where it is quiet and there's nature. We could do nature walks, that sort of thing. Um, Different events. Again, I haven't played out everything, but I can, and it'll come to me like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah.
Would you be willing to take out a loan for it, or would you have to have the 2 million cash?
I mean, ideally, I'd love to have a donor
Uh-huh.
or a collection of them, and all a department, all of that, a financial department that kind of helps me oversee that.
Yeah.
Um, I don't, you know what, I wouldn't want to do alone because I think that there's so many great people that have the ability to do that,
Yeah.
and so many organizations. And if collectively I could get a few to put together, I mean, it's a triple win, honestly.
Yeah.
And it would be such a great thing to give to and to get back from. I
Hmm.
mean, it's its own marketing sense, to be honest. And they'd be doing a wonderful thing. And just this is God's work we're doing. This is not just something to make a profit.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then eventually I'd like to do something where we get to the point where the people that are living there, we get them situated, we get them employed, all of that. So we get people that have gone through horrible trauma, let's say. And again, it could be there's a gradient scale, but we get them to be great citizens where they can help other people, or they can just work in a store and feel good about themselves. Because what I realized is when I left, it was the small things that got me my confidence back. Wasn't anything huge or major in the beginning. It was just getting up, getting dressed, and going to work was a big deal, because in all of that, if you've had any sort of trauma, there's anxiety, there's panic attacks, there's self-doubt, there's negative speaking. So we would have to start with that process, which is what I'm doing now, again online, or through Zoom, what have you. And then you can get somebody even while they're doing it simultaneously while they're starting to work. um, but we would start with that, the
Yeah.
lowest of gradients, and work their way up.
For sure.
Yeah.
We have very similar
Goals.
desires to help people. I wouldn't say
That's
I
awesome.
was focused on people
Mhm.
with trauma specifically, but
Mhm.
one of my goals
Mhm.
is to literally just build homes so that
Mhm.
people, I was focused on homeless people, but that they have a spot kind of
Mhm.
like, uh,
Yeah. Sure.
like not just like a for the night, but like a good 12 months,
Mhm.
24 months, 36 months of
Yeah.
like 5 years.
Absolutely.
We're going to get you back on your feet, reintegrated back into
That's great.
society. And
Yeah.
this spot is here as long as you need it.
I
And,
love that.
just buying one home and being able to do that for one person
Yep.
every 5 years would be great. But then also trying to scale that and bringing
Mhm.
people in who have the cash and,
Right.
cash is basically, I mean, it's just everywhere if you
It
find
right.
the right
It
people.
really is. It's like scholarships. I have a child who's going to college, and I know that if we need to at some point, she could get a scholarship. There's so many scholarships for so many different. There's money out there to be had. Again, it's you could use it for good or evil, but obviously, I think for the good, if you have a good idea in your head and that's what you're going towards, I think people would be willing to do so to help you out. Absolutely. Well, I love the fact that you said you wanted to walk with people through their pain and hold their hand. That's exactly where I come from.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because the one thing I always tell people is that if they're in any situation, it could be anything. Again, the gradient, the 0 to 100 on the number line, support system is huge.
Yeah.
And your support system during COVID for me were my two dogs, and these tiny little fluffy things, they got me through because I wasn't alone and I was, petting them and getting that, physical cuddling and that sort of thing. But then obviously, I made it grow and it was my family and then my friends since childhood. It was, people on the internet. It was other people that had gone through the same thing. It was other people that were stuck in their houses. It was healthcare workers that were scared to go back to work.
Yeah.
So support system is huge. Um,
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
yeah,
I mean, you know, as much as we like to go out and achieve and we like to show off and stroke our ego, it's like at the end of the day, at the end of life, when you look back, it's the
mhm,
relationships that you're really
absolutely.
care about.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, listen, I've already done all that. I'm on the other side of the rainbow where I'm going towards because I'm a little older than you, so I'm going towards the other side of it. So I'm over that hump of doing that.
Yeah.
And you have to be really careful because if you don't stay humble, you could end up in a situation like not me, but who directed me to a really bad world. Because you can get lost in all of that showing off and being better. And, people really aren't interested in that. The right people that are doing great things in this world that are the ones that have the cash, I will tell you that they're really good people and they're humble
Yeah.
because those are the quiet ones. They don't need to show off. They
Mm,
don't want to show off. It's the guy that's renting his house for 5 years, but he's driving, a brand new luxury car. um, why? Like, scale it down a little bit and contribute to an organization
yeah.
and put in your volunteer hours. And that's how I like to live personally. That's what got me through. That's what I was doing. And then ironically, I went back to those organizations and I had to go to a food bank and I had to ask people for help, which was really, really humbling and very challenging for me
Yeah.
because I've never been on that fence. But I will tell you what, when you get help from people, it's not only is it humbling, but you're giving them a gift to help you.
You are.
I mean, and that's how I still feel because even if I only have $5, I'm going to give somebody $1 or two
Yep.
because I know it's going to come back. I know God, the universe, whatever it is you want to call it. I know as long as you are directed to lead with your heart in this world, you will always be okay. You'll be better than okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
So.
how you said when you let people give to you or choose to receive from
Hmm.
people, you're giving them a
Hmm.
gift. And I always talk to people about this
So true.
because I'm Christian, love Jesus,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
live in a community of people that love Jesus as well. But one of the things
Beautiful.
that we do is we don't allow people to bear our burdens with us. And
Hmm.
there's that command in the Bible, bear one another's burdens. And we're so
Hmm.
quick to go out and try to bear other people's burdens, but we're
Yes.
really slow to let people bear our burdens with us.
Very. Yes. Yes.
And it's like you are contributing to
Hmm.
your colleagues or your friends or your families or your communities, like
Hmm.
you're taking away from that gift of bearing your burden with you. It's like it is something we're called to
Right.
do based on
Right.
what God tells us to do, and that's a good thing.
Hmm.
You're stopping them from doing it because
Yeah.
you don't want to be vulnerable or you're too scared to
Hmm.
ask or whatever it may be. And all of those are
Hmm.
great reasons. Like
Hmm.
I'm not saying I haven't been scared to be vulnerable or too scared to ask for help or too prideful to ask for help. But when you do ask and you give people the gift of
Hmm.
authenticity and vulnerability
Hmm.
on your part, turns
Yeah.
out
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I saw something today, and I'm a little tough because I got really mixed messages when I left, and here it is now. I'm a single woman in her 50s, and I was married for over 20 years, and before that, I was living with my large family. So I went from one thing to the other. And so here it is, I'm in my 50s, and now there's the internet and cell phones and there's social media and WhatsApp and all that nonsense, right? And dating sites. And it's horrible for me. That's my perception of it. God bless anyone that is doing it because I applaud you. Um, but we as women, especially, are kind of convinced that we should be doing things on our own. The whole girl boss and the hustling and all of that. But I kind of challenge it. I think anyone could be doing all of that, but it's confusing for me. I'm going to take it from my perception because I was raised very old school, traditional roles, um, though traditional roles, but a strong female character, let's say, in the home, a strong female presence in the home.
Mhm.
Um, and what happens is when you do that, you kind of, the women isolate themselves. The masculine feminine energy changes a little bit, the being a couple and the attraction changes a little bit, and then women get tough and the men kind of lose some of their masculinity. But more importantly than that, it gets us away from that tribe mentality. We all come from tribes, whatever tribe you are from, whether it be your race, religion, your gender, whatever it is. We are supposed to be living in community like you are doing now.
Yep.
And therefore, in that regard, it's like you need something to eat and I have something to eat. I'm going to give it to you. You're going to sit. So for every holiday dinner I have, I invite people that A, have nowhere to go, especially. And if they are even, if it's a religious event, then I invite somebody who's usually the opposite so that I can learn, they can learn and I can teach and they can eat the foods, of that holiday tradition and that sort of thing. And I think community is such a beautiful thing that we have as humans. I mean, you see it in the animal kingdom,
Yeah.
but us with our rational brains, we say, I can't do that because I'm going to look weak. I'm going to be vulnerable. And Brene Brown says it best. I mean, in order to live a fulfilling life, you have to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And, that's a little challenging still for me, honestly, in romantic relationships based on my past. But, as much as far as I've come, again, life is meant to be, it's one big lesson. And I think that we have, as humans with our brains, we have to keep learning.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. But yes, all right, going back full circle, being able to let someone help you is a huge, huge gift to give them.
Yeah.
So
No, absolutely.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
completely agree.
Good.
Well, awesome. Michelle, tell us a little bit about the top skills that you need to develop right now to make some of these dreams and goals come true.
That's a good one. I love all your questions. Top skills. I think this skill when you're doing a project or when you're working on something that's so big, everyone says dream big, dream big. And that can be really scary.
Mhm.
So I would say courage is number one.
Yep.
Courage is definitely number one. That could be courage to actually dream it because we could be like, no, 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 I don't want to, I can't, there's no way, I can't do that. That's crazy. I'm just going to do here. I mean, I've got 3 loads of laundry to do. Who do I think I am? Like, you
I
hear the
got you.
talk. So it's courage, positive thinking,
Yep.
but, not the toxic, positivity, which is the big buzzword now, but really realizing like, I can do this. I can make a change.
Yep.
So courage would be walking up, to an organization or business and saying, I need $150,000 from you. And this is what we're going to do together. So that takes courage.
It does.
Yeah. And resiliency. Resiliency has gotten me to where I'm at now. Resiliency is, as Maya Angelou says, and still I rise.
Yeah.
One of my favorite songs. My favorite songs, favorite videos, Serena Williams, Rise Up, that song, 100 Day. Like, I mean, and still I rise. That's resiliency. And we all have it within us. Absolutely. It could be something very small. I'm going to get out of the bed and I'm going to take a shower and I'm going to get dressed. I might get back into bed, but at least I showered.
Hmm.
That's for someone who's, let's say, severely depressed. You can have someone who doesn't feel good about themselves. I got dressed and I looked in the mirror and I smiled.
Yeah.
And that could be, the next phase. Or it could be someone I get dressed, I went to work. Or I went to work in a career that I have no idea what I'm doing and I'm scared to death, but I'm still going to do it. I'm going to walk through and I'm still going to do it. It could be, a teenager who's being bullied, but goes to school with their head up high, you know. And so I think resiliency. And the third one is the ability to just love. That's my statement is I am love.
Yeah.
And I think that the skill, like love is a noun and a verb, I guess. And the verb to love is a skill that we all need to have because some people do hate, but love to me is the answer to everything. It really is.
Yeah.
And even if it's somebody who did hurt you or someone who's confusing you a little bit, it could be, you know what, this isn't really good for me right now, but I do love you, but I'm going to love you from afar. I can bless and love my abuser from afar and put that out there, and God willing, he will see himself one day in the mirror to fix himself. Now, that's not for me to judge. That's not for me to decide. That's for him to decide. Um, but again, it's the same thing with a bully. You know, just be kind. Someone's not nice to you. Okay, I'm sorry you feel that way. Have a great day.
Yeah.
So that's my third skill.
I got you. Well, what are the
Mhm.
highest impact daily actions that are going to tick the needle forward towards your dreams and goals?
So planning. Um, so I don't want to say massive action immediately.
Hmm.
I like to do little things because someone like me who's constantly thinking, it can get overwhelming. So I do a lot of writing. I have at least 4 journals on my bed right now,
Yeah.
and um, and each one has its purpose. And then I found a legal pad, and I started writing that, like in an airplane, and just waiting for a car to come pick me up. And I think that writing down your thoughts, your fears, your dreams, and before you know it, you're writing. I actually have 2 books in the making, and simultaneously because there's so many things that I'm thinking about. And I think that's the first thing. And then creating some sort of business plan, putting pen to paper is huge. Being very organized is huge. Um, and then talking. So the person that helped me start with all of this said, I want you to make a list of 20 people that you're going to go home to or what have you, and you're going to tell what your plans are and what you want to do. So I made the list, I told the 20, and then I'm getting on podcast now and I'm telling thousands of people.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make myself accountable. You guys need to reach out to me on my website and be like, hey, Michelle, how's it going? What are you doing? We're waiting for that book. So I've been putting like little blurbs on the website, and I just started with that. I'm teaching myself how to do it all while I'm going along, which has been really cool because that's a great thing to also do. If you don't know how to do something and you get overwhelmed, do the small steps of learning, like just jump in and figure it out. And when you figure it out and you have a great product in the end, you're like, wow, I'm pretty cool. I'm awesome.
Yeah.
And, in our head, we might have our parents or an abuser or a spouse or a bully saying, you can't do this. You're not smart enough. You're not good enough. You're not pretty enough. And then you do something and you do a small goal and you create something. That's a big win.
It is.
So for me, I'm all about big wins because when you're done with those big wins, you've got this huge thing that you did and you have no idea that you actually did it, which is kind of cool. So pen to paper is really powerful.
I love it. Pen to paper, planning and writing, talking, and then stacking big wins.
Yeah. And making yourself accountable to other people, saying, I'm going to do this and saying, listen, I want you to come back and check in on me in a month and see where I'm at. And you can, whatever it is. Again, it could be somebody losing weight. It could be someone who wants to, drink less coffee or eat healthy or, am I going to read a motivational book or listen to a seminar online or whatever it is, it could be.
Yeah. I gotcha. Well, what
Mhm.
character trait do you most need to develop right now to make your dream life come true?
Wow, there's so many. It's like a multiple choice question. D, all the above. Um, I mean, I'm such a person for, constant, never ending improvement. I think that you can improve on everything. Um, I think for me, you said character trait. Is that what you asked me?
Yep.
Just want to get a little clarity. Let's see. I have hope. Okay, that's my dog. I have hope. I have drive. A little bit more drive, maybe. Faith,
Mm,
but there's levels of faith also. I feel
nice.
there's really levels of faith, and I'm just going to put that one out there. So I have a really big dream. I have to have a big faith stepping stone, you know,
Yeah.
to climb in order to have that big dream, because I have faith in what I'm doing in my life now. But for that, because faith is like the umbrella, it'll cover everything. It
Yep.
covers your organizational skills, it covers your courage, it covers your inspiring, it covers your doing, all of that. But the umbrella would be faith.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not, again, not to say that I don't have any, but that's a big one. That's a really big rock to climb. And that's okay.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
something that always kind of there are a couple things that make
Hmm.
me kind of check my faith.
Hmm.
Um, there's that scripture in the Bible. Whatever you believe in your heart, or whatever you ask for in prayer, believe it in your heart to be true, and it will be yours.
Hmm. Love that.
That kind of helps me check my faith. And then there's so then I ask myself, okay, what are the things that are true in my life right now? And then what am I believing in my heart? And then I can see
Mm.
how my heart lines up with my reality.
Hmm.
And the second thing that kind of echoes off that is faith without works is dead.
Hmm.
And so then it's
Exactly.
like, okay, well, I could think I have a level of faith, but if my faith, like your faith inspires your works. So
Absolutely.
the extent to which you're doing work every day,
Hmm.
you can backtrack that to the level of faith you have. Now, I'm not saying it's 100%,
Hmm.
but if you aren't doing some work that you should be doing, you should ask yourself, am I living in faith or am I living in fear?
Yeah, exactly.
And
Right.
it
Right.
could be an eye opener. So those two
Absolutely.
verses. You know,
Right. Well, it's the same as the proverb. I'm walking in faith, walking by
yep,
faith, not by sight. I have that on my post-it because I have things all around my house and what have you for myself and my teenage child. That's reminders, even though she thinks that I'm crazy and mom, that's I'm not going to do positive thinking. These kids,
yeah,
but it's subliminal, right? Because it goes in her subconscious. So she walks by the same thing every day, and they're butterflies, and
uh
you
huh,
know, and I'll write on there like, spread your, because she's about to go to college, or spread your wings and fly, or whatever it is. You've got this, and
yep,
it's the same thing. Like I used to do napkins for my kids with in their lunches, and I would write notes on them, and words of affirmation or what have you.
mhm,
Um, because we don't know what their days are like. And even when I was married with my husband, I did that. I used to write like on the hard boiled eggs, some sort of, you are loved and all of that.
yeah,
And honestly, I think that it's a great thing for people to do for themselves,
I agree.
because we can have faith in God or a universe or a spiritual being, but having faith in ourselves, I found, is very, very different.
Yeah,
Very different. And I thought to myself, it was actually the other day, because I also use like dry erase markers on the mirror. And I've been doing this again for my kids. And so I started doing it for myself, but it was more like taking notes almost if I had an idea. So, or I would draw hearts or whatever it was. And I realized that I need to put in those words of affirmation, not on a sheet of paper in my journal where I can't see it, but on my mirror for myself.
yeah,
And so every time I walk by, I can see, hi, beautiful, or you've got this. And what inspired me with that was I had a discussion with somebody about the good morning and the good night texts that people give or get these days.
mhm,
And again, this is all very new to me because I was married for my entire adult life. And I thought, it's really sad that somebody would, wake up in the morning and hope to see a text from somebody and may not. And that would really hurt them in their heart. And they might have a bad day because so and so didn't reach out. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to do it for myself. I'm not going to have to rely on someone. I'm going to do it for myself. So I wrote on my mirror, "Hi, beautiful." And then, in another color, "Have a great day." And I wrote on another mirror, "You are loved." And, in my child's, I wrote, I'm so blessed to have you as my daughter. And, that sort of thing. I think
Yep.
that's really, really great to do. And it's almost like it's coming from within, but that's where the faith is coming from. I mean, we are all children of God or the universe or spirit or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And we have to love ourselves in order to love other people. I truly believe that.
Yeah. No, I'm right there
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah.
And it like actually like changes you when you like see that stuff, hear that stuff,
Hmm.
say that stuff.
Hmm.
Like there's that other verse, the power of life and death is in the tongue. And it's just like
Hmm. Absolutely.
I was pretty skeptical of it, but then it's like
Hmm.
when I'm starting to feel down or when I'm feeling
Hmm.
angry or sad or lonely
Hmm.
or whatever it is, I just will speak different words.
Yes,
Kind of like
absolutely. Of
either
course.
visualizing my dreams and goals or saying kind things to myself or to the
Hmm.
people around me or even to the person I'm mad at, actually.
Hmm.
And it really does it like diffuses my brain. Like I can
Hmm.
feel the like pressure being released.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I've studied the brain a little bit because I've been diagnosed with chronic PTSD, and because of some of the things that I did experience, and physically and emotionally and verbally. And what happens in that scenario, and again, this could be different for, of course, it'll be different for everybody.
Mhm.
If you've had any kind of physical trauma, in addition with the emotional and the verbal abuse, you kind of leave your body in that moment, and you're really vulnerable. And what happens is your nervous system changes. So, therefore, those memories are stored in one part of your brain. And they say when you are dreaming or you're sleeping or have had a cocktail or meditating, where you're not so on, so to speak, those thoughts go from one part of your brain to your frontal, and then you can actually remember them, which creates flashbacks and triggers and things like that. But it also lends itself to facing your fears and facing something that might have happened to you that you don't remember,
Yeah.
or that was affecting you, but now you can really, on an intellectual level, you can think about it and process it. But
Mhm.
you do have that kind of nervousness of you're in a bad spot, and you're going to change the way you think, you're going to change the way you thought. And what might come in, like for me, it'll be like my ex-husband's words or his voice in my head, because I was, again, my entire adult life was around him. So I've had to change that in my nervous system. And that's where, so God bless her, rest her soul, Tina Turner learned how to chant. I don't know if you know the story of how she became a Buddhist. Um, she was obviously being abused by her husband, her former husband, and her one of her backup singers taught her about chanting. And it when somebody does that or prays or hums or does that sort of thing, it changes your nervous system so you can physically feel it. So if you're chanting or even if you're repeating affirmations, you'll see people now videos, they're walking and they're saying prayer walks, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That changes your entire nervous system. And so the level of depth of where you might go down, let's say when you're depressed or you're sad or you're angry, it might be a little higher now, meaning it's better than it's not as intense. And so if you find a practice of that sort of thing, it really, really works. Um, and I will tell you, I was not able to get through the day without having at least 10 panic attacks. I would be working on a patient and it would happen. And I had to really learn how to work through it. And I've been teaching this to other people because that's a scary thing to happen. Um, and sometimes, though, the last time I had a really bad one, I actually did get the word of God, which is kind of strange for me to even say, but I got it. I felt it. And I got immediate, like the whole, like, I heard the calling. I completely heard that calling. It was wild. So, and I hold on to that. But changing the words in your head with different words really, really makes a big difference because it changes your nervous system as well.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, your somatic system changes.
No, absolutely. I mean, I agree. I've
Hmm.
experienced it. So
Yeah, it's right. It's cool, isn't it cool? It's kind of cool. It's actually very magical. It's a magical moment when that happens.
that
But I
is.
will say for anyone, Tina Turner's Chant you can get on Apple Music,
Mhm.
and she's so incredible. You can even see videos of her chanting, and it's really fantastic.
Yeah.
It really is. It really, really is. Because even if you don't chant and you just listen to her and you listen to it over and over again, you kind of get into like this, like rocking back and forth and like, okay. And it's Tina. I mean, anyway,
I gotcha.
I'm a little bit of one of those crazy fans.
Yeah, yeah. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, awesome. If there were one or two people you could meet right now, and this could be a
Mm.
specific person or a type of person, and they'd really help you take that next step towards your dreams and goals, who would they be and how would they help you?
That's an easy answer for me. Okay. So, well, who would I want to? Okay. So I want to meet one day, which I'm sure I will, are all the female ancestors. But that's a whole nother conversation.
Mhm.
Because I stand on the shoulders of many, many strong women, and getting to know our ancestors, I think, is huge. Um, and hearing their stories, because those that came before us had really tough lives. No matter who you are, what your ethnicity is, what your religion is, they had tough lives, and we are the product thereof. But to really answer that question, it would be undoubtedly Oprah.
Yep.
I've been watching her since I was a very young teenager, and I watched her evolve. Super Soul Sunday just is phenomenal because she's so real, for one. And when somebody watches that, and I mean, and that's a show on on a different level than most of us even, have experienced. But you never know. You could dream big. But right, exactly. You could dream big, and it looks different for everybody else. That's what I've realized. You do you. Um, but she has access to obviously anybody, but to authors and composers and directors and financiers. And so watching her show for all of us is very enlightening, because if you don't read, let's say, Malcolm Gladwell's book, you can hear him being interviewed and
Yeah.
educate yourself on the world that you didn't even know existed in a positive light. But because of her passion and love for people and kids and women, and the graciousness and living in grace, and for the future, and of course having the funds, obviously she would be the one I would approach. Um, Before she passed, it would have been Tina. I'd actually talked about this with my friend, and we were going to reach out, because there's, what do they call it? 7 different connections to get someone. What is that called? Um,
Oh yeah,
seven
yeah.
different,
I
right?
know what you're talking about.
Seven, like 6 degrees of separation,
Yep.
right? So there was that for me with her, and I keep using it because an idol. Hello, but
Well,
you never.
you're probably less now because you're
Yeah.
one connection to me. I had a connection with somebody on my podcast
Okay.
whose aunt, that's a
Hmm.
third connection, talks to
Hmm.
Oprah every Thursday. So
There
your
you have it.
connection to me,
There
to
you
the
have it.
podcast guest, to her aunt, then to
Hmm.
Oprah, then to Tina.
See,
So
that's it. I mean, well, it would be. I mean, for the housing process, that project, it would be Oprah, because
yeah.
she's actually done it with a school. Because of
Mhm.
course in the house we would have these discussions, and a book club, and whether it be the small kids that would come, the women, the LGBTQ community, it would be the men, and everybody would love the animals. I mean, that's
Yeah.
just me. And we'd have exotics and that sort of thing. So she could see that in 2 seconds, like I can see it. And somebody like her would really not necessarily benefit from it, but would believe in it also, because my goal is to help the future generations. So to obviously heal all of us, and then start a legacy,
Yep.
and have it be something that other people, my kids, and then other people can take on when I pass, and it grow. Because unfortunately, trauma is not going to go away. Domestic violence is not going to go away. Sex trafficking is getting worse and worse and worse, and it's scary. It's really sad, and it's very scary. And when these people come back, especially the kids, they have nowhere to go. And that's just tough on the heart. That pulls on
Yeah.
my heartstrings. And it can be turned into, okay, let's deal with the trauma, and slowly those scales tip into positivity, and then teaching those people to help other people.
Yeah.
And so we literally heal the world one person at a time. And that's my thought.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Well, awesome, Michelle. That's all we got for you. We're running up on that hour time mark.
Hmm.
Is there anything else you want to chat about before we sign off?
No, I would love for people to, yes, I should say, I would love for people to go to my website and leave me a note. And it could be a note of, I need help, or, help inspire me, keep me online. Like, how am I doing? Because I love support. We're all connected. We need a love chain. And, I really think that's important, because when we put our heads down and we go to bed, we can view in ourselves, we be their customer God. And sometimes, though, we still have that little bit of loneliness feeling.
Yeah.
And that's tough. And, I don't like to do social media stuff right before I go to bed or when I wake up, because that's not great for us. But it'd be nice to connect. Of course, I am offering coaching, and it could be just in the sign of, let's work on techniques. Let's go through your goals or what you've been through. Let's walk through that. I've literally walked over coals 8 times, so I know how to do that. I know how to hold your hand through that, figuratively and literally. I can help you with that. Um, but even if it's just somebody to talk to, obviously talking I can do. And I've been working with patients, so I can talk to people about every bit of who they are.
Yeah.
So yeah. So, just one thing I always say is that we're not alone in this world. I'm here for you. You never have to feel like you're alone, and just reach out, and I will definitely get back to you. No doubt. Because you are loved.
There we go.
Yeah.
Well, if you guys are listening to this and you loved what Michelle had to say, make sure to check her out. All the links to do so will be down in the show notes. Michelle, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Tim. This was great. I appreciate it.
Of course, we appreciate you,
Mhm.
and thank
Thank
you
you.
guys for watching. We will see you on the next one. And on that
Thank you.
note, we're out.